the Starman. We are going to take you. Sorry about earlier on, my friend. What is it you'd like to talk to us about?
Well, hello there, gentlemen. First of all, do you mind if I comment to Jake, our last caller?
No, please. Feel free.
There seems to be like this need to add a face to everything that we do. Like, for example, like we need in order to relate to anything, we always have to add a face to it. So, maybe there isn't such a thing as a intelligent creator, but what about the alternative? The third alternative, whether there is one or there isn't. What about if we just come from something that is, like, I don't know, like something like we're just like a passive cell in a body. Like this is a microcosm, of something much bigger than us. You know what I mean?
I mean, there are like the whole panpsychism and pantheism. Like everything is God. We are part of God, or we're part of a bigger thing. Yeah, I mean, I've heard theories of that nature. Again, my answer would be, where's your evidence? That's about it, really.
Well, I mean, just in general, like we need to love everything around us, or we could destroy it and see what happens. And then, his biggest concern was comfort in what happens when he dies. Well, the comfort should be that the things will go on, because if, you love God and we are all God and we are all part of God, then wouldn't we just want things to keep going on?
I mean, I don't need a God concept to love the things around me that are deserving of it, or to cherish life in general, or existence, or to feel privileged to be given my short blip of time in this reality. So again, I would say that you can approach these needs and these thoughts from a sans God approach. You can do it in a secular manner. And again, I would always be suspicious of believing things without evidence because of their comfort. I mean, you're just replacing one comforting thought with a different comforting thought, each of which are equally in-evidenced. So it's much of a muchness to me from where I'm sitting there, Starman. But, I mean, we're a little bit off topic. You had something else you wanted to talk about if you wanted to sort of move on to your main thrust for us today.
Right. So I come from a Christian Baptist background, and I grew up, getting baptized and everything. I was all in on Christianity, and the political atmosphere has pretty much destroyed my family and my political beliefs, and it's really devastating to me because everything I grew up thinking and believing in has turned on its head. I can't see Christians the same way. They are the most hateful people on earth. They hate gays, they hate the poor, they hate the immigrants. They're selfish, and it goes against what Christ is all about. I think, and I hope that Christ was a real man, and maybe he had a message of love, and maybe it got lost in translation over the years, over the 2,000 years. I don't think he was God. I just think he figured it out, that we were all one.
I'm just going to jump into a second here, Starman, just to defend Christians. Again, don't end up committing that good old no true Scotsman fallacy. There are plenty of compassionate and lovely people who are practicing Christians. Some of my favourite people on the planet are practicing Christians. And if you want examples of Christians standing up against the fundamentalisation and the nationalism and stuff, just watch the speech of the bishop just after inauguration, asking for mercy and essentially praying for the powers that be currently to treat these groups, the trans people and immigrants and the downtrodden and the poor, with mercy and kindness. Now, would I argue with them on their epistemology about their belief and blah, 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 and all that good academic bollocks? Yeah, of course I would. But if they're going to stand side by side with me on issues like human rights, I don't care if they're wearing a dog collar, I don't care if they've got a Star of David or a yarmulke or a turban or a full burqa. I don't care. As long as we are aligned and they are humanists, I will call them an ally and I will defend their personhood, if not some of their beliefs.
Yeah, but then you just said that they're praying for the mercy of trans or gays. Like, why do they need that mercy? From what?
From the predations of the government. Like, the bishop was not asking for the mercy of God. They were asking for the mercy of the U.S. government. They were praying for maybe to invoke God to soften the hearts of them. Again, weird epistemology. But it's basically saying, if you want to call yourself an actual Christian, you need to be nice. And they were saying it from the pulpit, and they got absolutely lambasted for it. So yes, some Christians or people claiming to be Christian out there, not the nicest people, but that's because any group of people can have assholes in it. Atheists, plenty of atheist assholes, plenty of people I used to admire, I have now no longer admired because of the thoughts they espouse. They don't believe in God, neither do I. I don't think we can be friends because of other reasons. So I would avoid tarring entire swaths of the population with the same brush for a simple belief claim, basically, because I would take people on the merits of their actions rather than just some of their beliefs, basically.
I agree, but as someone that's been in the church and been like in the action of everyone and how they talk about everyone and how they treat everyone, and even from my family's point of view, I mean, we're also Cubans, so as you can imagine, like, you know, for some reason, most Cubans hate other Hispanic people because they think they're better than other Hispanic people. And you could ask any Cuban that, and I'm pretty sure they will all agree with me because that's just the way they are. And, you know, it's the way we're raised. I'm actually a white Cuban, but there are also black Cubans. But if you ask any white Cubans, they don't see themselves as Hispanic. They don't. They see themselves as above. That's why they mostly align with a certain political party, because they think that they can get away with blending in. And I'm over it. I'm over the hypocrisy of all that. And that's why I've left the church. And I don't think I'm atheist. I think I'm leaning more towards Gnosticism, because I still believe that we come from something. Because if you think about it, like, we are little electrical impulses in our brains, and electricity has mass, and mass is, it cannot be destroyed, just reformed. So we come from something. Scientifically, we come from something.
So why do you think that something's a god?
A dot?
A god. G-O-D.
Oh, my bad. No, because it's funny, because I would actually say something is a dot. Like, I would say that we are the circle is a very significant symbol, because I believe in iteration, and I think that everything, like, if you see the stars, cells, planets, again, we're a microcosm and a macrocosm. There is things we didn't happen by chance. We happen over iteration, right? And
so why do you think there's a God? I would agree with virtually everything you've said there. That doesn't lead me to God. Well, so why does it lead you to God?
Come from something. Because we have to come from something.
Do we?
Correct. Why God?
Okay, let's call. Why do we not refer to the Big Bang Theory, the whatever you call that God atom that we exploded from? Why wouldn't that be God?
There's no reason. Why is there so why is there a reason that you think that the Big Bang Theory points to God?
Well,
we have a name for it in the
I'm
Big
not
Bang
saying God
cosmology
and-
theory. It's called the singularity, and it's not God. It's a singularity. It's what we've defined it as. You can't just put the God label on something and say that's God. It's like, is this chair God? Am I God? Define what a God is. Is it an intelligent agent? Does it interfere? Can we communicate with it? Does it interfere in our lives or not? And there's so many different God concepts. You could slap the God label on the singularity if you like, but it makes no difference to me. I'm just going to keep calling it the singularity.
That's fine, and it doesn't change anything, and that's fine. Again, the whole point of this entire experiment of existence is the comfort and finding comfort that things will go on whether we're here or we're not.
So I want to kind of get back to this because I don't think you really answered that question. Why do you think that is God?
Well, okay. So what's the point of God? All right. Let's drill that down. What's the point of God? Well, the point of God is finding something that's outside of ourselves, right? And we have to have come from something. So that's outside of ourselves, and that is God. And does it matter or not whether it's intelligent? No, we just need to love it. We don't need to work.
It kind of matters if all you're doing is reframing something that we already have a reasonable amount of explanation for, and it contains no intelligence whatsoever, and you just start referring to it as a God, which traditionally is a being that has intelligence, which has motivation. And, why relabel it? Why not just call it what it is? Why do you want to relabel it to God?
Relabel it. Why do you want to relabel it to not God?
I'm not.
Like,
it's not. The science of the Big Bang Theory doesn't posit anywhere that it's God. So at some point, you've taken that, if I'm understanding correctly, and you're saying, right, this brought us into creation, therefore I am going to rename this God. Why are you doing that instead of just referring to it as what it is, which is the Big Bang Theory?
Well, let's break it down even smaller. Let's say Earth, okay? Earth is an organism that is powered by the cells that is us. The humans and animals and seeds, all that. Like, let's say that is a God.
I think you're making an equivocation fallacy there. I think you've seen two things that are similar, like an ecosystem and a body, and going, oh, they look kind of similar, so they must be the same. No. Like, singular organisms, ecosystems, planets, cosmology, like they may have certain traits in common, but just because electrons don't actually orbit nuclei. They jump up and down in cloud shells. If the solar system looked like an actual atom, it'd be fucking wild. But just because there's certain similarities between different natural systems does not mean that we are cells in the body of the Earth. So I would say that again, pattern matching, which is what we love to do as humans, is not really leading you to any kind of truth outside of like oh yeah, man, totes, oh yeah, I see it, kind of like fireside bong rip kind of stuff, but nothing particularly concrete.
Yeah, I want to jump back.
And it goes back to...
Starman, I want to jump back to the beginning of the universe again. I'm just going to explain why, and I'm not just dismissing you when you talk about the Earth thing. I think it was Lovelock who came up with the Gaia theory, and the Gaia theory had nothing. It spoke as an Earth as an ecosystem, and compared to it to a living organism. And a lot of people misunderstood what he was saying. He wasn't saying that there was some kind of living organism that was the Earth. That's not what Lovelock was saying when he did that. But a lot of people jumped on that, exactly as you've just done, and misunderstood what he was saying. And that is not how the Earth is. The Earth would continue without any living organisms on it whatsoever. The earth wouldn't crumble and disappear from the universe without people or consciousness or things that, were alive on it. It would just continue as it did for many, many hundreds and thousands of years before any life was there at all. So I don't understand why that is relevant to what I was asking you. What I was asking you, which I'm going to return to because I don't feel you sufficiently answered it, was why would you reframe the Big Bang as being God?
Well, I mean, again, and this is what you had mentioned earlier, is that we often need to find a God or a reason or a logic for something. It's what if God is the space between things that we don't understand? Okay,
what reason do we have to think that?
Something's holding.
That's the important part, Starman. I don't believe in God, and I'm kept going quite well. I've got to 47 years on this earth without believing in a God, and I'm still going just fine without one. We don't need a God to keep going. It may give comfort to people, and I have no doubt that it does give comfort to people. I have very little doubt that it performed the belief in something, some kind of power beyond ourselves, some kind of intelligence beyond ourselves, was an important part of our evolutionary process. That doesn't mean it's true. And the thing is, what we're trying to get to the bottom of here is you believe that a God exists and you have equivocated the Big Bang with God. What I want to know is why you have done that. The comfort level it brings you is irrelevant to that question, because I'm not asking why people believe God, exactly as we did with the first caller, why people believe in a God and it gives them comfort. I can grasp that. I understand why that occurs. What I'm asking is why you personally, as a believer in God, believe that the Big Bang is equated with God.
The problem is that you have likened God to an intelligent creator. I never said that. We are just part of his body, and that's it. We're just keeping it going. That's all I'm saying.
You're just relabeling something. That's just relabeling something, Starman. All you're doing there is relabeling something, and it serves no purpose to do that. We can just call it the Big Bang. It has all the same properties as the Big Bang. We do not need to relabel it as God. Yeah. So if you genuinely believe, and I'm not going to second guess what your beliefs are or what you're convinced of, but if you genuinely believe this is not an intelligence, this is not something that had motivation in creating the universe, that it is simply, the description of the Big Bang theory that we have, you're just going to relabel that as God. That is, first of all, entirely uninteresting to me personally. And from your point of view, I would suggest that you really, really examine why you're doing that, because it serves no purpose to do that. If you don't genuinely believe it is an intelligence, if you genuinely believe that it has no explanatory power as something, an intelligence with a motivation that set this thing into motion, and all you're doing is relabeling it, why are you doing that? Because that seems like a lot of wasted energy thinking about that and examining that and just relabeling it. That, I could go out to my car every single day on my commute to work, and I could say to my wife as I leave the house, I'm just going to get in the aeroplane and go to work. It would serve no purpose. And it seems that's all you're doing when you're doing this relabeling.
And I feel that a lot of people, and again, I don't know, I'm not. This isn't me saying that you do this, Starman, but a lot of people who try and say that the universe is God, or we are God, or everything's God, are trying to bring the sort of the trappings of divinity or specialness or like the romantic idea of godliness onto mundane things. But just by putting a label on something does not make it so. If I write the word hair on my slap dome, it does not give me a flowing load of locks. So just putting a label on something, just by calling something God, does not make it divine. So I don't know. That's sometimes what I feel what people are doing, because they just don't think it's special enough, I guess.
I think there's a lot of pushback to you're saying that there's wasted energy in fighting or renaming it, but I feel like there's wasted energy in fighting whether or not it's called God or a Big Bang or a singularity.
The thing is,
it doesn't matter.
I was going to stop you there, Starman, for one good reason. Nobody uses the word singularity or Big Bang for bigotry. Nobody uses the word Big Bang or singularity to denigrate people or kill people. Plenty of people have used the word God for that reason. That word has dangerous connotations, and that's why we get so spiky about it, because, it's God, it's God. What God? The God of hellfire, the God of crusade, the God of denigration, the wrathful God? Plenty of God concepts out there are not all flowers and sparkles, and that's why we get spiky about it, mate.
And plenty of God concepts out there are very, very different to each other and contradictory to each other. So just simply labeling it God tells us absolutely nothing about it. I just don't understand it. To me, it's wasted energy. Convince me otherwise, sir. Please do.
You don't need to know about it. It's what we can't come from. I mean, do more scientific research. That's the point. And we find out that maybe that's not God, but that's God's testicle. Maybe that's where we come from, And maybe we are like literally another microcosm, and in another microcosm.
And maybe and if. And the other problem is here, Starman, is that God concepts are often thought stoppers. If we know it's God, why investigate further?
I'm not saying that, though. That's where
you may not be saying it, but someone may take your words and go, "Oh, it's God. I don't need to look into it further."
I think that the use of words here is our biggest roadblock, because, for example, you said that, people have fought and killed for God, but they could do the exact same thing about the Big Bang. They could do the same exact
Show
thing
me
about
one person, other than maybe a drunken punch-up at a science convention, where someone has fought in the name of the Big Bang cosmology model. Like, literally, physically had a fight.
I could go around and kill disabled people and be like, sorry, Darwinism. Same thing, same idea.
Yes, but no one ever has, and no sane person would. But plenty of ostensibly sane people have died in droves with the name of God on their lips. It's like saying, again, you're trying to counter actual history with wacky what ifs. And so, no, I really... That word God has a lot of baggage on it. As Richard said, it also does not have much in the way of explanatory power unless you give it traits. And so I don't think it's as harmless as you think it is, man.
I would be very interested. As the Starman, I am doing a degree presently in religion, philosophy, and ethics. And I would be pushed, I think, to find anybody on either amongst my peers, amongst my professors, anybody in the field of religious studies who would say, right, we're going to have a go at describing a God concept. I would be very, very surprised if anybody came up with a description of a Big Bang, the Big Bang, for that God concept. And this is why it's so problematic for me, because it's just muddying the waters for no good reason. We have an explanation, we have a description of what the Big Bang theory is, and we have a name for it. And throwing in something which has other connotations, other descriptions, other properties into that, and just saying, well, actually, the Big Bang theory is now going to be called God. it is just wasted energy. It's absolutely pointless. I don't understand why you would want to do it. And this is really, I know I keep coming back to this, and I'm sorry, and I appreciate your patience on this call, Starman, but this is really, really fascinating to me that you would spend, first of all, so much energy wanting to just relabel something we all have a name of. And secondly, that you kind of have this pushback, that there is an objection to this. It seems really, really strange. I don't think you'd do it in any other area of your life. I don't think you'd go into a sandwich shop and instead of ordering your regular sandwich, turn around to the person behind the counter and say, today I would like a jumbo jet. I just don't think you'd do it because it's, to be frank, a silly thing to do. And I don't think that anybody would do that in any level of the life, apart from in this redefinition of God, to try and sneak God in to an equation somehow, just to say, well, we can say God exists. Well, you can, but it's a really, really silly way of doing it.
Can I just say that I think it's hilarious that you guys defended the sanity of people that believe in God, who, like an actual God that has a beard and judges them in the sky. Like, you just
because religious belief is not a mental illness. It's a rational thought, but it's not mental illness. They are perfect. A lot of them are perfectly sane. A lot of them are very intelligent. Yeah. And this is why concepts like cognitive dissonance happens. And I would never turn the guns of accusatory of mental illness on a believer. Now, if someone starts saying things like, I hear the voice of God in my head, and that's like, could be something there. On that one individual level, I might be slightly unnerved, but I'm not going to go up to someone like Mr. Rogers or Stephen Colbert, both of whom are famously religious, and say, you're insane, you're crazy, because they obviously aren't. Or weren't, in Rogers' case.
I'd argue against it. I would say, if you're hearing...
And that does a disservice not only to you, but is also offensive to people with mental illnesses and offensive to just general people with beliefs. Like, that's not a nice way to go about things, Starman, I have to say.
Then I apologize, and I take that back.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it seems...
I mean, that's it. Go on.
No, please, Starman, continue.
No, so again, I really don't think... I think there's too much pushback on it. It doesn't make a difference one way or another. I know you say the connotation of it all, but again, it's all just words. If we were just all mute and we were just talking beeps and burps, then guess what? It doesn't make a difference. It really does not make a difference if we come from something greater. You know what I mean?
Oh, I mean, I can be enraptured, stunned to silence by the majesty and terror of the universe around me. From the tiniest interactions of atoms to the weird concepts around quantum theory to the majestic eons-long dance of stars, planets, galaxies, and don't need any kind of God to find that absolutely magical. I don't need a God concept for greatness. I see it everywhere I go. And if people need a God concept for greatness, to see greatness, then I just try and disavow them of that. They don't need it. It's a superfluous. It's a part of our culture that we are growing out of and should grow out of. So that's where I fall on that. Like, greatness is apparent. You don't need a God for it.
Agreed. Yeah. I agree, but I don't think there's an intelligent creator. That's all I'm saying. The potential of it just being that we are just a microcosm. Again, that's all it is. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that call it whatever you want, God or whatever. It's just a term. The term does not matter. You could call it anything. I really, it does not change what I'm saying. And I don't think you guys seem to be fighting it just because of the terminology of God.
Words do matter. When things have been defined and a general consensus has been come to as to how we define something, it behooves us to try and follow that definition. If I'm trying to talk to you about a concept and I want you to understand it, unless it's something that I need to understand whether you have a particular terminology for it, I'm going to use the standard parlance. So I'm going to call it the singularity because most cosmologists do. I'm not going to call it God. I'm not going to insinuate that it's God. And if I came up to you and started trying to talk to you about my coddler alternating flange on my fling blangle doodle, and you're like, what the heck is all that? Oh, that's just what I call the tire on my car, because that's what I call it. That's the word I use. It's like those are not common terms. I mean, we have arguments in this country about whether it's called a Coke or a soda or a pop, and that's frippery. That's silly, but at least we understand that we've got a subset, and it does matter. Words matter. Words give us the tools for meaning. It's our communication vector, for the most part. So just being laissez-faire with the definitions of words and slapping labels where you want them just because you think it looks cool, I think is a bad way to go about communication.
Okay, then unintelligent creator, third alternative. That's what it is. It's unintelligent, third alternate. There you go.
And on that note, the Starman, thank you for calling.